I said it before and I'll say it again.
That scene, that last scene.
What does it mean?
I'm the dude, you know?
Get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot. That final scene starts now.
Hello, and welcome to That Final Scene. My name is Sophie, I'm your host, and today we have a special episode for you as it's the very first time we're gonna break down a TV show, the final scene of the one and only Succession. I'm back with a full crew today. Ben, Simon, hello.
Hello.
Ooh.
Yo. Oh,
Someone's back from the beach.
Yeah, someone's back from holidays. He's brought a tiki torch with him and a glass of rum.
Tell us all about your Greek adventures. How was it?
It was pretty good. It was like an intense family holiday.
Oh.
My mum's
like
mum
Succession,
came.
like
Yeah, we thought, it's
the
a tribute to
Caribbean
Succession.
cleaner. Yeah.
If my mum's mum drank enough wine every night, she'd become Logan Roy.
Wow, that's an intense person to spend 2 weeks with. My God.
No, it's good.
Did you watch any shows or films while you were
Well,
holidaying?
everyone kept going to bed quite early, which left me to my own devices in the evening. So therefore, I went on a hunt for a sample. I'll play this clip of this song, and this is what I've been looking for. It's the sample out of, do you know Rip Groove? Wait.
Is it from a movie, this sample?
No, it's from a speed garage track from the 90s.
No.
I recognise that.
Sounds cool, though.
I recognise that bass line. That sounds like a Basement Jaxx track.
Yeah, it does a bit actually.
Yeah.
So I was reading on some forum that it came from a Steven Seagal film.
No.
Oh, wow.
So I went on a bit of a hunt. And it
So
became
you've
a bit
been
of an
watching
obsession.
Seagal.
That is
Oh, yeah.
so
Oh, fantastic.
And I've been watching films from what I describe as his art house phase.
Really? How long is the ponytail then?
It's optimal.
Okay.
It's basically a supporting actor in the film.
The pony.
The first film I watched from his straight to VHS era.
Your Sean Connery impression coming out there. VHS.
I feel like if we keep talking about him, he needs to sponsor us.
I thought you were going to say he's like the Candyman. If we keep talking about him, he'll appear. If you say Steven Seagal into a mirror 3 times, he'll appear behind you and beat you up.
So the first one was Out for Justice.
Wow.
And he plays a cop cleaning up a dirty city, New York. And he's looking for this guy called Richie. But he just tours around like strip clubs, bars, looking for this guy. And eventually a kid rings him from a call box, tells him where Richie is, and he wastes him. Anyway, watched it twice.
Wow. Why?
I was looking for the sample.
No, why does he waste Richie? That's the question.
Richie's like killed his partner or something. I can't remember.
Okay.
And then this kid just rings him up, tells him where he is, and that's the end.
Wow. So the movie literally ends just a guy phones him up. And
Yeah.
Does this sort of film hold your attention?
Yes.
Like, oh, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the other one you watched?
So that was the first one, and then so I realized I'd misread the forum, and it wasn't even that film that they mentioned.
Okay.
And also the sample's obviously Jamaican, and
Please tell me
that film's
Steven-
full of Italians in New York. So I was
Please
like,
tell me Steven Seagal doesn't play a Jamaican
no,
character at some point.
it's almost as bad as that. So then I watched Marked for Death, the pinnacle of Seagal's career, and he plays this time a reluctant to come out of retirement cop who's got to clean up a city. This time his hometown, Chicago, where if you can believe it, stereotyped Jamaican gangs are dealing bad drugs in his city, and he has to come and
kick ass.
yeah, exactly.
Intense.
And the baddie is called Screwface.
That is actually very funny.
Wow. Okay, I love it. I love.
Do you want to hear some lines from it?
Yes, please, God, yes.
Okay.
You want some blow?
Yeah, I want some blow. Put your hands where I can see them. I'm gonna blow your head off.
Wow.
Cool, no? Keep a cool head, man.
Oh,
Okay. Now this is a scene where like they're trying to convince Steven to come back out of retirement.
Why is it? Can I just ask? Why is it that Steven Seagal already sounds like he's done a load of blow in that scene anyway? And
because
it's just,
he has.
He
It
has,
always
yeah.
sounds like that.
Yeah.
Okay, this one, it's the classic cop being convinced to come out of retirement
Okay.
because he's such a legend. Listen to what the lady says at the end.
Who's that?
It's John Hatcher. He's an undercover troubleshooter for the DEA.
Him coming in with us?
No, he thinks he's retired.
He still looks functional to me.
She's like, she eyes him up and is like, still looks functional.
It
to
looks
me.
functional to me.
Yeah.
Wow, what
The
a
lady
line.
knows what
My
she
God.
wants.
So yeah, he in that film he shoots someone's leg and the whole leg just comes off straight away. He breaks someone's arm and the hand comes off.
Very like
So-
very the Black Knight and Monty Python just keeps chopping his arms
Yeah.
and legs off.
And then,
Holy
so
Grail.
like I was saying, you can enjoy it if you suspend your issues with stereotyping of like the entire Jamaican people.
Oh,
but
no.
during the film, him and his like do-gooding cleanup gang invent a magic gun that doesn't make any noise. It's a machine gun. And then they pack it into like a secret suitcase and take it on a flight to Jamaica, where they're almost instantly cured of their racism when they see the real Jamaica. But then they still have to waste Screwface. And it happens within about 15 minutes.
With the magical quiet gun.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it works a treat.
This sounds fantastic. I was going to say, can you play a clip, but it's a quiet gun, so we wouldn't hear it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this is a clip of Screwface.
Look upon this madman. I'm dead. And I don't even know it.
He's actually really, really good.
Is he actually Jamaican?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
not.
he's
It's not as bad as that.
Right, okay.
What's the movie called again? Sorry, I need to look
It's
up
called
the cast
Marked
for
for
this.
Death.
Marked for Death by
Okay.
Steven Seagal. Okay, I need
If
to
you're
find
from
this.
Jamaica and you're listening to the show, please cleanse your palette by sending some actually like, appropriate Jamaican films.
But like Screwface as a baddie is a decent badass baddie.
Okay.
He's one of the best bits of the whole film.
I'm trying to see if there's anyone else I recognize from this film. Keith David, I recognize. He plays Max. Danny Trejo's in it. Of course he is, because of course Danny Trejo is in.
But the other good thing is in this film is that the soundtrack is genuinely brilliant. Then there's like some Jimmy Cliff. In fact, I've got a clip of it here.
Wow.
Banger.
It's a really good soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it made me think we should start a playlist.
Yeah, let's do it.
And this could be the first film soundtrack we add to it.
Okay.
Be
Sounds
a
good.
resident tastemaker.
Yeah.
I'd be up for that.
I recommend you go and find the soundtrack. It's brilliant.
I would also add this. I would add the soundtrack to a movie. I feel like you'd appreciate this, Owen. I don't know if I might have talked about it on the podcast before, but a movie called The Guest. Have you seen The Guest?
Yes.
Which is the soundtrack is like really kind of like synthy electro. It's really good. And then instead of making a sequel, they basically the director and the composer made a concept album, and that's the sequel to the movie. Is
That's
this
so
like
cool.
electro concept album? And he was like, yeah, we might do a sequel to it eventually, but there isn't. There is a kind of a sequel in this album. But The Guest is actually a really good movie. It came out in like maybe 2016, and it's probably before that, but it's kind of like you have to be able to suspend your disbelief a little bit. It's quite like, what's his name's Dan?
Isn't it M. Night?
No, it's not. No, it's not M.
Does he
Night,
have
no.
a similar movie called something like The Guest?
He probably does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's this guy this former Marine who comes to visit the family of like his one of the former soldiers that he was with who died, and it turns out he's like a psycho. He's like the T-2000 or 1000, whatever it is, in Terminator 2, and he's just indestructible and invincible, and he kills everybody. But
Sounds
it's a
great.
really good movie,
Yeah,
and it has
sounds
a really
great.
cool soundtrack. And it's the guy, and one of the guys.
Massive cool.
Pardon me. It is massive cool.
Yes, The Guest is massive cool. Yeah, but that's another good soundtrack.
So that was just Screwface there. Popping in.
He's screwing with us.
Classic Screwface.
Yeah.
Screwface.
What have you been watching, Sophie?
Okay.
I'm guessing not Steven Seagal movies.
No.
Well, you must be getting low down the list now. You're at day 4,000 of your.
You guys need to help me out because I'm losing my faith in Guy Ritchie because I just watched his latest film.
You don't have to
But
like
you don't
him.
have to have faith in Guy Richie.
I love Snatch is a top 20, maybe even a top 10 all-time fave of mine.
Again, one of those movies where you really have to put your you have to put your prejudices.
100%.
Prejudice.
Yeah, prejudice.
100%.
Yeah.
But from a filmmaking standpoint, it's just like a great film.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I
it's- yeah,
personally
Ben does not sound convinced.
Oh, no, I think Snatch is. I do think Snatch is great. I just think there's a lot of elements of it that are problematic.
yeah.
Brad,
And
as an Irishman, Brad Pitt's accent.
Would
worth
you
a
say
rewatch.
Lock, Stock's better or worse than Snatch?
I would.
Lock, Stock is great.
Lock, Stock is good, but I prefer Snatch. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I always liked his filmmaking style, and the past few films that I've seen from him have just been very disappointing.
Is The Gentleman his
Gentleman
last
I didn't
film?
like.
Yeah.
I found that even more offensive than Snatch.
Really?
But that's 15 years later. So
Yeah.
it's like, what are you doing? And I don't know if you've seen, he just released a new film called The Covenant.
Yeah, is this
It's
on
on
like?
Prime.
It's on Prime. Okay,
And
yeah.
it's with Jake Gyllenhaal, who
It's
I
the
don't know what
soldier
he,
thing, isn't
I
it?
don't know what the fuck he's doing with his career. Like Jake, I think he just lost the plot. Like after Ambulance and now this film, I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. It's a shame.
He can do what he wants. He's a glorious man with a glorious beard. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I guess so. But it was the first film that he actually didn't act well. I was like, oh, Jake is overreacting. He was either overreacting or massively underreacting.
Okay.
The film is like a ripoff of, I don't know, Lone Survivor, Saving Private Ryan, Hurt Locker. It's like a true story.
Even from I watched the trailer, which for some reason the trailer was really long, or at least it felt very long.
The film is very long as well.
But yeah, so I watched the trailer, and the trailer felt really long, but it looked like American Sniper. It looked like he had just taken like the color palette and like the style of shooting and everything straight out of American Sniper.
Exactly. There is nothing unique. There is nothing Guy Richie about that film.
Generic war movie, like a generic Afghanistan war movie.
Which doesn't make sense because Guy Ritchie's not even American, but it's like a very American-friendly movie.
His career's gone in a weird way. Like he just didn't he do Aladdin?
And now he's doing Hercules.
He's doing Hercules now. Like he's
Aladdin and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah. Yeah, he's now moving his way into like Disney movies, and I think he's talked about doing another Sherlock Holmes, hasn't he, with Robert Downey Jr.?
I love the Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
I just realized.
I didn't really like the second one. I liked the first one. I thought the first one was really good. The second one I didn't think was great.
It's the first one where there's a scene and there's a waterfall and then he disappears at the end or something.
Oh, I can't remember.
I mean,
the first one has that really like those ridiculous like scenes where it goes into slow motion.
And
then like he does a dissecting of how he's like crack jaw, punch, all this kind of stuff.
Quite Poirot.
Yeah, like Poirot, but like trying to make it like cool and sexy and edgy.
Rebooted the Poirot debrief.
Yeah, maybe that's what. Honestly, the way Guy Ritchie's career is going next, if a Hercule Poirot film is on the horizon, I would not be surprised.
That's true.
It's kind of like what Glass Onion was in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, but not as bad. But yeah, I don't know. Like I am waiting for the redemption film. It better be Hercules because that wasn't a good look.
Or he could ruin Hercules completely.
I hope not. My favorite Disney.
Is that your favorite Disney animation?
Yeah.
What's it about?
Hercules.
Well, Hercules, the Greek god Hercules.
Oh, it's like a mythology.
Yeah, so was it like the 90s animated
yeah.
movie? It's
like,
really good.
Along with Lion King, like Simon, you would love it. I think it's right up your alley. I think it's right up your alley, Hercules, because it's a bit sarcastic and a bit like...
Yeah, it's like Danny DeVito plays like this fawn who like trains him to be a hero. And then James Woods plays Hades, and it's just... Iconic. Oh, God, it's one of the, like, speaking, we're going to talk about like villains that you empathize with in a bit. Like Hades in that movie is just so relatable because he is just like, everybody else is just kind of like so up their own arse, and then Hades is kind of just like trying to get on with shit. He's so good. I would recommend watching it. If you need something to watch with Olive, watch Hercules. It's good.
Okay.
Love
good
it.
songs in it as well.
Oh yeah, great soundtrack.
It's not Elton, is it?
I don't think it's Elton.
I
I
don't remember.
I mean,
Elton.
in the next one, if it's being directed by Guy Ritchie, it
could
very
very
well
much-
could
The
be
main
Elton.
reason why I have this thing about Lion King is that I was once at a fireworks display and they played The Circle of Life in the background, which I think is a song from it. And it really put me off watching the film.
No, Hercules has nothing to do with that. That's not the vibe with Hercules.
Cool. Yeah. And to be honest, like The Lion King's good, but I'm not. Like, I know everybody's really. Like, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite Disney film. I'll say that. Like, it's not.
Gasp sound effect.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Disney film?
Oh, I don't know. I watched I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I watched Zootopia really recently, and that's bloody brilliant. I think that's a Disney one. Favorite Pixar film is easy. Disney film is harder because I feel like I don't. No, The Incredibles.
Oh,
of course it would be.
It's so good. It's basically Watchmen in a cartoon form, and a million times better than the Watchmen movie.
What's the film with the chickens?
The film with the chickens.
Yeah, like the chickens got away or something.
Chicken Run.
And the translation in Greek was like the chickens got away. Like
the claymation movie.
That's the Aardman one, isn't it?
That's Aardman. Chicken. That's a great movie.
Yeah,
That's,
I was gonna say
It was
Mel
Gibson as the lead rooster. Yeah.
What was the title here?
Chicken Run.
Oh, Chicken Run. Okay.
Chicken
And
Run's
then
fantastic.
it was after The Wrong Trousers, wasn't it?
Such a great
It's
a great
an Aardman
film.
movie. Yeah.
You know they make that frame by frame with clay.
Oh my god.
And that was like 2003 as well. Like Chicken Run's like probably 20 years old now.
Very old.
Or close to it.
Super
That'd be a good one.
underrated.
When we get the anniversary of Chicken Run, we should
Always
watch
gets
that.
wheeled out at Christmas.
Such a fantastic film.
Ben, what have you been watching?
Not that much. I've been watching a lot of trashy television.
Great.
Which
Below Deck.
No, not Below Deck. I've been watching The Ultimatum on Netflix.
What's that?
It's a show where a bunch of couples go on as a reality thing, and one of them wants to get married and the other one doesn't. And then they're told, okay, now you all just need to flirt with these other couples. And then they have to pick a person from one of the other couples to then live with for like 3 weeks. And then at the end of the 3 weeks, they decide, do they want to marry their original partner? Do they want to marry this new person for some bizarre reason? Or do they want to be single? It's fucking crazy.
It's
ridiculous.
like the producers asked ChatGPT, how can we create the most drama?
Yes.
And that's the plot.
Yeah, it basically putting into ChatGPT, what happens when you combine Love Island with Love is Blind and Married at First Sight and all of the other trashy reality television programs, and this is what you get. I watched, in preparation for Mission Impossible coming out next month, I watched Rogue Nation. I wasn't willing to go all the way back to the start and watch the first Mission Impossible because I think watching... 7 films now would be a bit of a stretch. So I went back to Rogue Nation because I think that's my favorite one. And I had, do you know what? I had a really deep internal struggle with myself because last week I was thinking about like my top 10 movies list. And in the list I had Casino Royale and I had Rogue Nation as like 2 action movies in there.
Lord.
And I thought to myself, I was like, I can't have both. I have to have one. And the struggle between having Mission Impossible or Bond was more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
I bet you'll go with Bond.
Of course I went with Bond. My deep emotional connection with Bond obviously won over. But I really do think if you want a good action movie that is just like really good set pieces and like kind of an interesting story and like just looks really good, the latest Mission Impossible movies are kind of hard to beat. Like they are really, really so. Like Christopher McQuarrie is just really good at action movies. Like since he joined and started writing and directing them, he's just really good at it. Like he kind of gets like spy, espionage, action movies. And so yeah, I had this weird like I generally sat there looking at my phone, being like, oh God, am I gonna take Casino Royale off? No, I'm not gonna take Casino Royale off the list. No.
That would be
Casino Royale stuck, but yeah, I rewatched that recently because I think Rogue Nation is my favorite. Obviously, Fallout, which was the Henry Cavill one,
Fallout was great.
Fallout was really good, and I'm really looking forward to the next 2. I mean, I don't know why movies need to be part 1 and 2. It's not
Doesn't make sense.
No, but we'll wait and see. I think it could be good, but unfortunately, as we were talking before the podcast, it comes out the week before Oppenheimer, so Tom Cruise seems to be on like the rampage now, trying to get other companies to move their release dates and stuff because it comes out on the 12th of July, and then 1 week later you have Oppenheimer and Barbie, which are probably the 2 most anticipated movies of the summer.
Yeah, he's literally calling up movie execs, being like, you need to do something about this because I need every single IMAX screen out there.
You need to do Big Daddy T a favor. Come on.
The Scientology call center's been reassigned.
Yeah, exactly. The savior of the cinema has arrived.
Yeah.
I'm back, baby.
Back off, Nolan. It's my time. Yeah. But yeah, so I watched that and I did really enjoy that. I got Ellie to watch it as well and she liked it. So that's always a good sign if Ellie liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's a good reminder. I think I'm going to watch a couple as well in preparation.
Yeah, I would watch Rogue Nation and Fallout because these 3 kind of seem to like, this is almost like a trilogy in their own. Like the earlier ones kind of have a bit more of a disconnect between them, whereas they've been very much going for like the linear story with the characters kind of connecting a little bit more, which I think helps as well. I think you got to respect him.
Yeah.
Even if he has some religious beliefs I don't agree with.
I mean, similar to the Roy family, it's all he has.
Yeah.
I feel like that's his legacy.
Yeah.
So.
What's this?
It's a movie.
No!
Oh, I liked it.
No!
Can I say something?
No!
I don't get it.
What don't you get about it?
Simon suggested we talk about those horrible fictional characters that we end up empathizing anyway. I mean, it depends, really. I think you and I, Ben, were talking about this before the podcast because we're thinking sometimes it's all about the writing, right? It's about how you write the character, and they can be straight up horrible. And then if you show the tragic backstory, or if something happens halfway through in terms of how you see the character, you can change how you relate to them.
Yeah. What's the redemption moment?
What's the redemption?
Like
and if there is a redemption moment. So yeah, we asked you to share your opinions on the topic, and we got some amazing responses. Let's take a look at some of them and see if we agree or disagree. I think we're not going to be able to agree with all of them. Jessica said what a few of our other listeners said, Walter White. So Walter White from Breaking Bad. He was a terrible person who did terrible things, but I still felt bad for him when he lost everything and died alone. How do we feel about Walter White?
I don't know if I felt bad for him in the end. I mean, like Succession, he kind of gets what he deserves in the end. I don't necessarily know if I feel bad for him. You know, everything he did leads up to that.
I mean, initially, yes, but then it gets so extreme and ridiculous that it just goes beyond.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. But that's more so just the ending itself rather than him as a character.
Like,
you know,
the machine gun in the back of the
in the back of the car.
This is also what we talked about before we started recording, Ben, where it's like, I think you feel differently about characters depending on when the change, quote unquote, happens. Because Walter White was, his entire life was a decent guy. And then cancer happened. And then his life progressed into what progressed. And then his morals went out the window. And I think with him, he gets
progressively worse as the seasons go on as well. Yes. Like the things he does get. And I think what's the interesting thing, and I think the reason I never really felt as bad for him is because the character with stuff like the poisoning of the kid with the whatever the flower, like the flower of the Widow Valley, I can't remember what it's called. But this, you know, he plays the innocent character so much, and then we only know as the audience that he's done these awful things. Like people like Jesse and all don't know that he poisoned the kid for, I think or Brock, that's the kid's name is, or if he even ever finds out, you know. And so how much he hid of all the awful things that he did, that's kind of why I didn't really have that much sympathy for him in the end. But then again, well, I have to think back to it, like thinking back to watching that final episode, did I want him to get away with it in the end?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I did.
I mean, that's the tricky part because I
did I want him to ride off into the sunset, you know?
Yeah. David says, okay, that one is wild. Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. She was a cruel and selfish queen who deserved to die, but I still felt sorry for her when she lost her children and when she died in Jaime's arms.
Didn't feel sorry for her when she died in Jaime's arms, not at all. No.
Yeah.
Didn't feel sorry for her then. No.
She's
you didn't
evil.
watch Game of Thrones, did you say?
Yeah. I watched the first couple of episodes.
Okay.
She's
so you saw Cersei at her best then?
Oh, she's lovely.
Yeah. The walk of shame I didn't like, but I mean that's shame. Yeah. But I mean that was a bit extreme. But yeah, I mean I don't mind her dying. Mike, Ben, you're gonna have thoughts on this one. Darth Vader. He was a ruthless and powerful Sith Lord who killed countless people, but he also had a good side and redeemed himself by saving Luke and killing the Emperor.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. I don't know about that now. I think
it's too ridiculous to discuss.
Is it too ridiculous? I mean, I would disagree. I think
but he's like a funny baddie, isn't he? It's not like you're
really. Darth Vader's the original baddie. Like Darth
Vader's the original.
Before that film came out, there were no baddies.
There were baddies, but there was no one like him.
There's no one like him.
Exactly.
The plot twist baddie. Yeah.
I don't think because of his one redeeming bit at the end, there's much to get past. I also think you don't like the villains that you, I think, or the horrible people that you sympathize with, you get more backstory from them than Vader.
Exactly.
You know? Or at least you get more time with them. Like the one that I was talking about beforehand is like, and I mean, you'll know this, funnily enough, because even though it's a Marvel movie, the guy in Black Panther, Killmonger's character, who even though is a bad guy and kills people, you get to the end of it and you kind of feel like, hang on, wait, why has he died now? Is that really a deserving end for him? And actually, should we be thinking more of the way he thinks and stuff like that? And yeah, I think you need more time with those characters than you get. Listen, you get fucking 6 movies with Darth Vader, but I don't think you have. I wouldn't say he was that redeemed for me just because he throws the Emperor off a bridge.
Simon, I would like your thoughts on this one. Kate says, Ken Delroy from Succession. He was a ruthless and ambitious businessman who tried to overthrow his father and betray his siblings, but he also had a lot of personal struggles and vulnerabilities that made me feel for him.
Yeah, because like I agree with that because those children have been so manipulated by their circumstances. They're literally like the product of a dreadful father, basically.
And I think Kendall most so. Like he's like Kendall. Like Succession is 4 seasons of Kendall just being beaten down season 4 is kind of like, or at least for a couple of episodes, like how Kendall got his groove back, and is like him rebuilding himself and coming to the top, and then obviously we get to the end.
It's like you imagine your whole life was being gaslit by your own parents. Like that's what happens
with their mother being potentially even worse than their dad, if that's even possible. But like anyway, I genuinely think that Succession is about Kendall in a way, and that's his like, which is why Succession, the final scene ends with Kendall, but we can talk about this later. But on what Kate said, I listened to the HBO podcast where they had Jeremy Strong in the very final episode of the show, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said the siblings' love language is abuse. Because that's like, this is how they receive love from their parents. So even when they want to communicate love to each other, they do so by abusing and betraying and like
because like all they know is like being used by their own parents, being picked up and used as like pawns. And also like pitted against each other, and then they're with each other, then they're against each other. Then it's just relentlessly disturbing for them.
Exactly.
And then obviously that plays out in their own personalities, and that's why we all love Succession, because it's so layered and nuanced. I think that's what Jesse Armstrong does really well, from like the writing in Peep Show, say, which I think is just as good as Succession. It's like he knows character undercurrents really well. He knows like what makes people tick, and he can write about it. And that's why so many people I think have keyed into Succession.
Ben, I think you had a couple of
someone on the comments, I can't remember whose name it was, but I don't know. Have you watched Toy Story 3, Simon? Have you watched it with your little girl? No. The villain in Toy Story 3 is called Lotso Huggin' Bear. And I think what was the point that they made? And I kind of agreed with this and empathized with this a little bit, but they said Lotso Huggin' Bear from Toy Story 3 from Mr. Eakin, he'd had his heart ripped open and just wanted to protect his nearest and dearest. He just had he was just a tad militant in his approach.
Tad militant.
Tad militant is a great sentence. Someone also brought up Magneto. The guy's a supremacist, yet somehow the actors make him good, which is a really good point, because like Magneto in the X-Men movies is a dreadful character, but the performances from like Ian McKellen in the first X-Men, not so much as it goes on, because the writing in the movies gets a little bit shit, and then Michael Fassbender again in X-Men First Class. It's just a really good kind of portrayal of this tormented person who's just kind of out for revenge that you do kind of empathize with at times, but then it's kind of I find you switch back and forth with someone like that.
Yeah. A couple of people said Hannibal.
No.
We need more info. DM us.
Yeah, don't just say Hannibal.
Hitler in Downfall.
Yeah. I don't see it. And Alex from my Clockwork Orange.
Again.
Also, DM us.
I think you've missed the point of the question. We're not just talking about horrible people.
Period.
Yeah.
I can't empathize with Alex. Like I don't see that. Yeah.
I can't empathize with Hannibal. He eats people for a living.
Someone said, and that's the last one, Neil from Heat. I know you mentioned Neil.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Especially the romantic aspirations of his character in Heat.
Right.
Where he just wants to meet that girl in the restaurant, and then, basically leave all his problems behind and flee to where does he want to go? Like Thailand or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you kind of want him to be able to do that, and maybe he can have a new start and whatever, but he just dumps her in the car, doesn't he, and walks away. And because his maxim is, if you can't walk away from something in 20 seconds, don't get involved with it.
Classic.
And he sees it through. So he's a man of consistency, which I do admire.
Classic Neil. It's just not a bad guy's name, Neil.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I think the more you find out about any human tends to help, like with empathy.
This is why Darth Vader killed Obi-Wan. Now we know.
Exactly
the thing is, like, when people say films like Star Wars or Joker, like in my head, like they're like entertainment films, so I don't take them as seriously as I don't know why. This is just my personally like they're entertainment, like fun films.
But then I guess that's why I bring up something like Black Panther, because these like quote unquote like fantasy films, comic books or sci-fi, whatever, can have a message as well. Like
totally,
and you can have characters that you do connect with on a kind of a weird, like that's what we spoke in the last episode. I saw the latest Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and really touching, and actually it's because Marvel movies have been quite shit for the last couple of years. Like, you know.
They throw you one little bone and you're sobbing your eyes out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not even they throw me a bone. They throw me a film that's not just about like this massive fucking universe of all these different things. It was just about a group of people and it was a character thing and it was much more interesting.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with the final episode of Succession.
Oh, look, a message from our sponsor.
G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it.
Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hey, yo, what's up? Y'all got a problem? Y'all want some of this?
Without much further ado,
here we go again.
Today, we're going to talk about the series finale of Succession, one of the most acclaimed HBO shows of the past decade. If you haven't seen it yet, stop listening right now and go watch it. We're going to spoil everything. This is your last and final warning. Okay, so in the last episode of Succession, titled With Open Eyes, I would like your thoughts on the title. We see the Roy family in their most desperate and dramatic state yet. On one side, we have Shiv, who has been working with Lucas Madsen, the tech billionaire who wanted to buy Waystar and make her his US CEO, supposedly. On the other side, we have Kendall, who is trying to stop the sale and become the new leader of Waystar himself. And in the middle, we have Roman, who is still recovering from his father's funeral and is unsure where his loyalty lay. The siblings all fly to Barbados. I mean, this is... Okay, we're going to talk about it, but I'm just so excited about that scene. Where their mother Caroline invites them. Then they try to persuade Roman to join their side while also dealing with their personal issues. Meanwhile, back in New York, Tom is having a series of awkward meetings with Madsen trying to secure his position in the new regime. He also has a tense phone call with Shiv, who suggests they get back together. As the board vote approaches, it seems that Kendall has managed to win over Roman and Shiv to form a united front with his siblings against Madsen. We need to talk about that scene in the kitchen because my favorite scene of the entire episode. We then, I don't know if anyone remembers the great allocation scene well. That was probably my second favorite scene.
The great what scene?
Great reallocation scene.
Oh,
where basically
yeah.
it's Logan's old house, not Connor's house.
Oh, yeah.
And we
Where
see
he
the
gives
home
it all the
video. And we
stickers.
see
That
the
was
home video.
so funny. with his like sticker tours that he was booking in. And then it turned out he'd already secretly done a first pass for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I love the home video, like how they reacted to Logan. That was just, scene stealing from the grave.
That scene showed that they were always going to be the kids. They were never going to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And this scene is also important because it's when Tom tells Shiv that he gives her a heads up that he's going to be the CEO.
It's me.
It's happening, bitch. But then everything changes. And enter board meeting scene.
Yeah, the final board meeting.
Okay, before we get into that board vote meeting, we're not calling it a scene. It's more like a series of scenes in a way. What did you make of the episode up until that point? Before we enter that like plot line, what did you think was going to happen? Did you have any assumptions or guesses?
Honestly, I still didn't know. And I think that's a real testament to the writings that
Same.
even up to the end of it, I was so tense going into that board meeting scene because it still felt like anything could happen. And either way, whatever happened, it was going to blow up. Like something was going to happen.
If there were enough votes to allow Kendall to take over, I think that would have been a letdown because it would have been quite a smooth landing for the whole thing.
I thought it was gonna. I thought there was going to be some conflict like that. I didn't necessarily know it was going to come from Shiv though. I thought there was obviously we have like Logan's brother is there. There's Stewie's character. What's his line? He's like I like bad drugs and
Activist, backtivist or something like that.
I like weird sex. I like bad drugs. I'm a very complicated individual.
Bullshit. You like pancakes and waffles and you kiss guys on
He was trying to paint himself as a really racy character, and then the other's like, dude, that's not what you're like.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's it. But I genuinely thought like his whole thing from the start has been like it's been money, and
he was loyal after all.
Weirdly, but I genuinely thought like there could be he could fuck it over.
I think there is a universe out there where Kendall actually wins because they did agree back in Barbados. And I mean, this is more of a question for you. And what did you think of like Shiv saying first in the first place? For me, that didn't make a lot of sense. And if I have one issue with the entire episode, it's probably Shiv's character progression. In a couple of scenes, I was like, is this Shiv because it felt a bit weird.
Shiv's like a pheasant running around from allegiance-wise, flipping allegiance all the time. So it's quite unpredictable.
Right.
And actually, I wonder, is it that at the end, with Shiv knowing that Tom will be CEO, is it in her head she knows the best outcome for me is maybe it is Tom, it's not Kendall. She has more say, having Tom's child. She has more say in what happens to Waystar than she would if Kendall was in charge.
Yeah, that's what she thinks. But ultimately, for all her faux feminism, she's ending up a wife, right? With no real title. I don't think she's gonna stay in the company. But I don't know if you guys caught that. You know how when they went back to the HQ and Kendall sat at Logan's chair. Did you notice Shiv's look at him? She couldn't bear the look of him on the chair. And I thought that was her moment where she was like, I can't stomach this. Like, I can't.
It feels like, to me, her decision was more spite than it was a positive decision to like just give everyone a clean break. Because that would be the nice way to look at it. Oh, the siblings are all out of the business. They can just move on with their lives and get out of this toxic place. But it didn't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
It felt more like a spiteful, messy...
Well, it felt like them, again, reverting to just being kids. And
yeah,
then,
yes.
doing it to, like, as you say, like an out of spite thing. Almost like petulant children being like, well, if I can't have it, the last person I want to have it is you.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
her,
and next week she'll regret it and want
Yeah.
to turn it around again and
Exactly.
they won't be able to.
Yeah, because we do have the clip if you want to play it, but there are certain moments when they have that fight after... Is it Shiv that first says, "Oh, I need a minute"?
Can I have a moment, please? Just fuck off. I just need a...
Roman is there, and I think he rattles as well because he looked at Jerry and like he realized, oh shit, it's not me.
Whether you want us to keep the company or hand it over to Tom and that piece of shit who killed our dad.
I might have changed my mind.
What the fuck?
Yeah, actually, for a second in that scene, I thought Roman was going to say no.
Yeah,
but
me
then
too.
he kind of goes, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, doesn't he kind of does his usual Roman thing?
Yeah, me too.
I can do this.
I don't think you'd be good at it.
What? I don't...
And then,
I don't.
she starts to say all sorts of things, as in, I fucking love you, but I can't stomach you. Oh, actually, you can't be the CEO because you would be terrible at it. You can't be the CEO because you killed someone.
You can't be CEO. You can't, because you killed someone.
She starts
She's
to come
making up loads of reasons.
Loads of reasons as to why, because it's not her, he can't have it either.
Yeah.
And my hot take is that I know you're probably going to disagree with me, but I do think that Kendall kind of proved himself as the best CEO compared to the other two.
That's why the arc of this episode is so good, because the speech in the church, which I thought was incredible, really showed him as potential CEO material.
And the presentation with Living Plus.
Yeah, that was not bad. And then
good.
And then the church thing, and you're like, hang on a minute, they're kind of setting him up here.
Yeah.
But then of course they were setting him up to cut him down.
He's always been the only one who realistically, who you saw in a real world, who you would say he is the one who you would give it to.
And he's done the job.
Yeah.
Even for a brief.
But let's not forget, we start like the whole series, if you go right back to it, the first episode is him building up to his dad announcing that Kendall's about to take over.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of turns on its head because he's built up that for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been the one.
And then Roman gets very nasty as well in the conversation because Kendall goes, I'm the eldest boy.
I am the eldest boy!
You're not.
And you know, it mattered to him. He wanted this to go on.
Well, I mean, she's the bloodline, though.
What? I'm the bloodline. We're all the fucking
No,
bloodline.
I just mean if you're going to play that card, Dad's view was yours weren't real.
What the fuck did you just say?
Well, just not real.
Rome.
Well,
And then Roman's like, dude, like, your children are not even your own biological children, so you don't have the bloodline, so fuck off. So it's just like evil.
Well, it's just them throwing spite at one another, and that's when he because he makes the comment about the kids, because there's the stuff in the first season as well where, like, isn't it Logan slaps Kendall's son and stuff like that, because I think I'm not sure if they're saying the kid has I don't know, he's just like has autism or something like that, I think is what they're saying. And like Logan slaps him, and there's the big scene at the dinner party, and that's the comment that Roman makes, and then he grabs him by the throat. And I mean, even then, watching it, I was like, even then, if you're the board members, you look over and you go, yeah, can I change my vote? Can Can I vote differently? I don't know if I want the guy who's strangling someone in an office that just has glass walls.
Well, I mean,
I got kind of
they've all done a
scared.
deal with the devil to be in that room.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think
exactly.
that's the least of
That's
their
true.
worries.
Yeah. I got quite scared when he got physical with Shiv as well, being pregnant and all. Like I was like, maybe there's something's gonna happen. He's gonna like, I don't know, fuck up your child. Like my mind went there for a second.
Two
It's quite
things I was
scary.
expecting that didn't happen was one was I thought Shiv's kid was going to be fathered by somebody else.
By the
like Lucas or someone. I thought that was going to be a mega twist.
Well, that's the thing with Succession. We never see like the plot twists that happen. We've seen them on screen in like as foreshadowing. We never see, and I love that the show does that. You never get a plot twist as like, oh, it's been behind the scenes all along, and you could have never guessed it. It's more like if you were watching closely, it was there. So for me, if they'd done something like that, it would be pretty dumb.
Too obvious.
Yeah, as in like, oh yeah, by the way, I was sleeping with Nate like all the.
I forgot about Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never quite understood how Nate factored into everything. He like a PR guy or something? I can't remember.
I think he was like a spin doctor.
Yeah,
for
like
the-
communication.
for the
I never quite
Democratic
understood.
candidate, yeah.
And then the other thing was Connor. I thought, to me, he also had this undercurrent of darkness, and I thought he was quite a scary character for a long time because he seemed like the kind of guy that could flip and have this really dark side, but that never really surfaced.
Yeah,
and he ended up becoming quite likable actually towards the end. Like Connor was the one that I kind of warmed to a bit.
He just becomes a bit, well, I don't know,
Like
he becomes quite pathetic towards the end.
like the reassignment scene. It was just, I found that really funny.
Well, that's what I was surprised
Slovenia.
that I thought, one of the things that was I thought one of the options that they could have gone with to how does this change is that it goes back to the election thing. But I guess they all just live in a world now where this scary fascist is president of America.
Even though Shiv did allude to the fact that this could all be bullshit, which I like, and I do think that she's right, that it's not going to be the case. Do you remember Willa's face when she said that? Because Willa was like, oh shit, I did want a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have the fight that's turning physical, and then the vote goes 7-6 against the Roys. And we see Kendall leaving, departing. Matten arrives for a deal signing photo op. And then, Tom is locked in to become the new CEO.
Tom Wamsgans.
Madsen's dance.
Yeah.
Is shocking.
Oh, God.
So
it's so cringe.
Who do we think makes the cut from the deal? So Carl and Frank are going to be fired.
I think maybe the communications person, what's her name?
Carolina,
I think probably makes the cut. Of all of
Okay.
them, and Tom and Greg.
Well, I reckon Tom, who's now the pain sponge for Lucas, he'll want to pass on some of that pain to Greg, so he'll keep Greg on.
Oh yeah,
as a
but that's what.
Yeah.
So that.
What would be his title though?
I
What
don't
would
know.
he be, like VP
Probably
or
COO or something.
Oh my God.
SVP of pain.
No.
Yeah.
Like
in
when
that-
he puts, but like that going on from the scene where everybody goes around the house putting stickers on things that they want. When he puts the sticker on Greg's forehead, that was like
Iconic.
that was just that
Prime
Greg and
TV.
Tom relationship
Prime
was just
TV.
perfect.
Yeah.
My God, because that's been built, especially since halfway through that episode, we think Greg has fucked it for Tom because Greg does that weird thing where he fucking Google translates the Swedish conversation while they're talking
that's
about
the
it.
only bit in that episode that I couldn't quite follow. I was like, what's in it for Greg to
But Greg is
that
just playing
information?
both. Greg is
Yeah,
just playing
he's
both
playing-
camps as
yeah,
he
exactly.
always did.
Yeah.
And now I think he's almost in a worse position now because now Tom is in charge, and it's like, oh shit, it's like because he had kind of backed
He got
Kendall
caught out.
and he got caught out. Yeah,
And he's hearing Kendall is getting votes.
yeah.
So he's just prepping.
And one of the
for-
things that Greg always had in the power play was that his granddad Logan's brother had the board vote, and Greg doesn't have that power anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I was so glad Greg didn't win. But that, when
I
he's just like,
mean-
am I okay? Am I okay? And what is it? He's like, you're fucked, or something like that. But I think I have enough capital to keep you around. And then he puts the sticker on his forehead because he's his.
I think Greg is worse than Tom. I think he loved Shiv at some point. I think at some point he's like
I
he
also
was
think
loyal
Greg,
to
Tom,
What? Greg was loyal to Shiv or Tom?
I think Tom was loyal.
and I think Tom has at least had Tom nailed his colours to the mast early and doesn't really change, whereas Greg literally flip flops at every episode. Greg is either with Madison or he's with the kids, or he's with he's like all over the place. Whereas Tom kind of ever since at the end of season 3 when he rats the kids out to Logan.
Yeah, that was
he
really dark.
nails
And he's
his-
still with Shiv at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Horrible.
But ever since then, that's been it. Like, he's been on that side of the fence. He's with Logan. He wants the deal, blah, 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 blah.
Consistent, yeah.
And I don't think he ever could have seen it that he'd be
No.
CEO. It probably was in his head, but as maybe like a pipe dream that could happen.
And speaking of foreshadowing, I don't know if you guys remember in episode 9 where we have the funeral of Logan, and we have Shiv, we have Greg, and we have Lucas, and they kind of like chat around. And Shiv goes, "Oh, Tom is at work," and Lucas pays attention. And to like that moment, like that came to me when they had oh my god, another great scene with Lucas and Tom, like in the restaurant, when he called him his pain sponge. But I realized that Lucas, in the back of his head, he was like, "Oh, this guy, like he's putting in the work. He didn't even show up at Logan's funeral because he's doing the work." So he was also setting it up, which was great. I mean, but I don't know if Tom knew that Lucas was gonna pick him.
No, I don't think he did.
He knew Logan would. I think Logan wanted Tom, but I don't know if he expected Lucas to pick him.
It's interesting though, because I was listening to a thing with Jesse Armstrong where he said that he's known for a while, like I think maybe since season 2, that Tom was always going to come out on top. He was going to be the winner.
Love it.
It's quite refreshing to have a show that gets as big as Succession, because arguably like Succession's the biggest thing on TV right now, or it has been at least for like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And to, well, have the guts to end it at 4 seasons and be like, this is it, the story's done, I don't want to tell anymore, we could keep going, but I'm not going to. And then to have that, follow it all the way through and have Tom win it is just, you see a lot of TV shows that don't do that and they go, oh shit, we're making so much money, why don't we just keep going? And then it inevitably becomes shit and the vision becomes kind of diluted. Whereas Jesse Armstrong seems to, I'm sure it was very difficult to walk away from all of the money that they were probably offering him, but for the sake of the story to then end it the way they wanted to.
Yeah. So moving to the final scenes of the show, we have Roman sitting alone at the bar, sipping a martini and kind of smiling. You can see he kind of smirks at the very end, like a subtle smirk. I think at this point he realized he's better off
He just checked
without
his
all the
bank
bullshit.
balance on his phone.
Yeah, and I think it's what you
he
said.
saw the billions of dollars
He
that's
said
now in his
the
bank account.
Yeah, he was like, "I'm good." And also what you said, Ben, earlier before we started recording. I think it was at the board vote scene where he was like, "We're all bullshit."
That was I wanted to pick up on that. That
oh.
for me was the mega line of the whole show.
It's bullshit. We're all bullshit. Yeah, this
he
is
like
just
calls
bullshit.
it.
Yeah, he's just broken. He's just done. Like I think for a while, Roman's kind of just it's been the last couple of episodes. He just wants out.
Next scene, we have Tom riding home with Shiv, kind of like proffering his hand like an alpha monarch. That's
Alpha monarch.
I've literally never heard that in my life.
I mean, that's the actual recap.
Surely monarch.
like
Can you
it.
get higher than monarch? Alpha monarch.
Yeah, this is more like
Be a feminine monarch.
Or a beta monarch.
I mean, he's kind of a bit of one, but
He is a beta monarch.
yeah.
Of course he is.
She kind of takes his hand, but
So,
not
yeah,
fully,
that
kind
was-
of half-heartedly.
I know, obviously, it goes on to Kendall at the end, but that was my favorite of the ending scenes. That just like laying her hand on his. That like
She's like, "I'll touch your hand, but I'm really not happy about
well
this."
as like you were saying this, like it's very, or maybe it was you, Sophie, that it's very Macbeth. It's like halfway through Macbeth, he kills the king, and now he's king, and it all starts to crumble from there. And this couple who, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, who've done this awful thing, and they will continue the lie.
But that's the thing
What
now.
happens next?
It seems like the power dynamic of the relationship has changed entirely. So, yeah, it's great to think what's going to happen with the child, but I mean, it's definitely going to be a present or a
I
mother.
don't think it's great
but
for the child.
No, but I mean, it'd be interesting how they would use the child to, kind of like get back to each other and like horrible.
I'm almost glad that because
The child's definitely Lucas Madsen's.
No, I don't think they have.
I'm almost glad because there's with Tom and Shiv's ending, especially, like there is a lot more that could happen.
Yeah.
You feel like there's more that could go on there.
Oh,
I'm kind of
yeah.
glad they don't though, because it's nice to have that left open to interpretation and discussion of, okay, well, what happens next with Tom now as the CEO of North America for Waystar and Waystar Royco or whatever it is.
The host of the HBO podcast, though, said that she's been hearing that there could be a movie, not a spin-off.
Oh, no.
Not a spin-off. I think a movie could work.
No,
There's so much.
I just think
want
leave
more
it.
so badly. You're
Yeah,
like
of course.
prepared to
But do you know
risk
what?
it.
Yeah, but that's it. I think it's too much of a risk. I'm not willing to risk it. I think it's.
I trust Jesse. If he's on board, I do trust him.
I don't know. I think as it is, just leave. Just that
It's
ending
like
is
in
so
the thick
perfect.
of it, and then Veep or whatever it's. What's the movie? In the Loop.
In the Loop.
In the
Yeah,
Loop wasn't
and then
the,
Veep
wasn't the same.
Yeah.
The format doesn't work.
Okay. It will still be great.
But it could.
You
But it
still
might not.
want
But it
it.
might not.
Can
but
you
it-
think of any
but it might not
examples
be
of where
that.
a TV show has done a movie and it's been amazing?
And okay, amazing is a strong word, but what was the Sopranos movie that came out recently? It was pretty good with Ray
Many
Liotta.
Saints of Newark. or
Yeah,
something.
that was a pretty decent movie. But you don't compare it because it's a different story. And I don't think Succession, the movie, would be like, oh, let's see what our characters have been up to. Like, it wouldn't be a movie like that. It would be more like, let's look at Greg and like a very specific day in the life of Greg. You know, they would find the interesting way to bring it back.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be like 45 days later.
You'd want it like starting the next day.
Yeah.
What happened?
Right.
I don't know. I think that ending as it is for
It's
like
perfect.
when you exactly when you take it as 4 seasons, that ending is like absolutely perfect.
Masterfully balanced.
Yeah, balance is the perfect word actually. Yeah.
But then you can have 6 seasons in a movie.
No, it doesn't need 6 seasons. Sophie, listen, I can't.
Okay.
Like
Wait,
everybody,
hang on a
I
minute.
can't wait for the community movie.
The last episode was like 1 hour 24 minutes or something.
Yeah.
It's,
So it was
like
a movie.
in
Yeah, no,
itself.
easily, for sure. Okay, finally we have Kendall walking through a park. We have the bodyguard. His name is Colin, I think.
Poor Colin. I felt so bad for Colin.
Yeah.
Especially
I know,
after
he's
when
kind of
Logan
hover-
dies. What does he do? That scene where they go for dinner together.
Oh, that's what I was going to
God.
say. The dinner,
Yeah.
when Logan escapes from his party or
Yeah,
whatever.
and it's like Logan's only friend.
It's so sad. Yeah, and now he's kind of hovering behind Kendall. So as Kendall kind of gazes out of the Hudson River, we know water has been a big theme of like Kendall's woes, really. Like, you know, how he tried to...
A swimming pool.
Do you... Yeah. It was season 3,
yeah.
the final...
There's also
scene
that other
of it.
shot when he's on the top of a big building and there's the glass edge and he's sort of looking down.
Yeah, he's kind of...
Quite
Yeah.
depressed.
Even in season 4, like when they're in
The sea.
he goes to swim the sea after they've signed off the Pierce deal or something. They've gotten one over Logan and he goes to swim the sea.
He's
There's
kind
also
of-
the fact that guy drowned in the car as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's how he killed the
huge.
guy. Like,
Yeah, so he's kind of obsessed with water. So yeah, the scene cuts to black at this very moment as he gazes, you know, contemplates, realizes everything is kind
what
of
next?
Yeah. But I don't know, I feel like it's so interesting because we could talk about what we think he's thinking. In my head, I'm like, maybe he realized he hasn't just been sidelined, he's literally been crossed out. Like it's just never coming back.
Even though he has kids, he has an ex-wife. That job was and becoming the CEO was everything. Doesn't matter. Like that's what like
It's all relative.
yeah, like it's nothing else mattered to him, and so actually he's probably thinking my life is over. What
Because of his programming from...
Yeah, exactly.
growing up
It's been
from
programmed
Logan.
into him
Yeah.
by Logan. Yeah. So well, if the company's not there, what do I have?
Because with the other two, we know they're gonna be okay. Like in their weird, twisted ways, they're gonna be okay. But with Kendall, we don't know. So
It's the most open ended with Kendall.
Yeah, and again in the last episode of the HBO podcast, Jeremy Strong was claiming that he couldn't see any other way out but actually kill himself. Like he thought that was the only way out as Kendall, which is why one of the takes that they done, Jeremy actually goes and climbs the fence.
But you were
to the river.
saying they didn't know he was going to do that.
No, he wasn't going to do that. So he did that instantly because he was like, that's the only way it can end. So in his head, he was thinking, maybe I go for it because maybe it's such a good shot that they may end up using that one instead. But
And then they didn't.
But Jesse was like, no, fuck that. I want to, like, I
That was
want
probably all in the wrong positions as well. So he might
Yeah.
have done it and then they're like, well, we didn't really get the shot. So
Yeah,
it's
we
like-
stopped rolling. We just
Yeah.
didn't know what you were doing.
Well, Jesse claimed that he got quite scared, which makes sense because the river looked terrifying.
Yeah.
But Jesse wanted to leave the
Well,
show.
that's an interesting, and that asks a lot of other questions around like when people play characters for so long, and you know, who knows the character better? Jesse, who's been writing him for 4 years, or Kendall, who's been trying to live as that character for 4 years?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Because Jeremy pretty much says I have a very different interpretation of what's next for Kendall compared to Jesse, who thinks he might make it out alive and he might end up seeing the light.
He'll go to Silicon Valley and start up the next.
Him and Stewie will start some really
AI.
wanky.
Yeah, some AI company. Yeah, an AI porn company that gives you bad drugs and weird sex.
Well, yeah, I do think in his last moments in that scene, he's thinking what he said back to Shiv at the boardroom, where he was like, "If I don't do this, I might die. If I don't get to do this, I might die."
I think that was. I think that was just his last ditch attempt, though. I think that's partly that's also his last ditch attempt at if they think I'm going to be dead, the way when you're a kid you threaten to, if you don't do that, I'm going to run away.
It would have been so easy to commit character assassination with Shiv on this episode, but I think they made it work.
I think they made it. Yeah, again, they just made it work for everyone.
Yeah,
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
10 out of 10.
Yeah, 12 out of 10.
Perfect ending.
Perfect ending. Cool.
And such a shame that it's done, but I guess just go
Goodbye.
relive it, watch it again.
Let's see season 2 again because it's the greatest.
I'm just going to have to go back and binge watch them all again so I can make my mind up. Sorry.
Cool.
What about you, Si?
Which is my favourite season.
No, just final thoughts on the ending.
Parting.
Yeah, parting
words.
thoughts.
I love it. We really are, though. Yeah. Okay, we definitely saw the ending again. And that's it. Oh my God, I feel so sad that we're not going to talk about Succession. We're going to have to talk about Succession again. Please.
Of course.
Okay.
It'll be there in our lives. Please, God, I hope they don't do a movie, though.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on the show and its ending. You can DM us on Instagram or tweet us at Final Scene Pod on Twitter. Active again on Twitter, so hit me up, I guess.
Why not?
Yeah, or just send us a good old voice note. I don't know. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode breaking down the final scene of Michael Mann's Heat. Yes. Yeah.
Not Michael Bay, as I keep making
I know, I do.
Yeah, we're going to have to...
I've accidentally watched Transformers.
Okay, until then, stay tuned and keep watching. Goodbye.
Oh, look, a message from our sponsor.
Did you like it? Did you like that?
Did I like it? I loved it.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.